Live from Nashville, Tennessee on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, this is God, Freedom, and Bitcoin. I'm your host, Todd Gatewood, here with my wife, Janet. Our show's mission is faith, personal freedom, sound money, and Bitcoin. And guys, tonight is our 21st and final show. So what a way to end it, because there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever created. So there you go. Janet, what's going on?
Good evening, Music City. Good evening, Nashville. We are thrilled to be here. This is our 21st show here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and the end of season 1 for us. We'll be back on the radio, we think, at some point in the future. We'll be going to a video podcast after this for a season. You can follow us on our socials. We're on X under God, Freedom, and Bitcoin. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we have our website, godfreedomandbitcoin.io.
A-N-D.
God, Freedom, and A-N-D, Bitcoin.io. So super excited about that. And we have books on there. We've had such a great season. It's been filled with so many things. So tonight we're going to talk about kind of a recap, some of what we've talked about this season, where Bitcoin is right now, where it's going in the future, where it could go in the future, and some of what's going on in the news as well.
Yeah, and we're also going to open up the phone lines tonight, guys. So if you want to give us a call here at 615-737-9986. That's 615-737-9986. We'd love to hear from you.
So in the spirit of God, freedom, and Bitcoin, there's a couple of stories this week that I loved. Someone put the U.S. Constitution on the blockchain. That means it's forever on the blockchain, this immutable ledger. Someone said, we want people to see what freedom looks like, and our Constitution is what protects our freedom. That's incredible. Oh,
it's totally incredible. And that's the thing is, like, just in case someone were to, get rid of it, take it away, tear it up, whatever, it being on the blockchain, it's forever, and you can't do that. So you're always going to be able to see it. People who want to learn about our country, the greatness of it, because it is one of the greatest countries in the world, and our freedoms are immutable. They just are, and I'm so grateful for being blessed to live in this wonderful country that's called the United States of America.
Yeah, and as people have heard us talk a lot, you really have to fight for those freedoms. I mean, we've been very vocal this season about stepping up in your communities, speaking out, speaking truth, calling out things that need to be out in the open so they can be addressed. We've talked about scams, frauds. We've talked about everything under the sun. But at the end of the day, you can't sit back passively and think that we will always be able to do all the things that we do right now. You have to stay involved. You have to keep elected officials accountable. You have to speak up and be brave and be bold, but you have to take time to pay attention and not just be on Netflix watching the next series of Stranger Things.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing. In dissent is good, but be respectful in that dissent, and you can be, because nothing's worse than someone yelling at someone and pointing their finger at them and this, that, and the other. So you want to be able to dissent, but dissent in a kind and generous manner with facts.
Yeah. Facts. Oh, that's the joke, right? Because there are all these what is it when they're trying to say fact checker, truth checker, but half of those are funded by, far right, far left, different things. They're not always accurate. So even when I do a lot of stuff with AI, right? Everybody does now. And I do a lot of things with CHAT GPT and Grok, and I do research. But when you've been in the Bitcoin space like we have 4 years, when you look at something in AI, like I ran something to talk about tonight and it was wrong because I've been paying attention and I know. So just because you put something in an AI system, we just want you to know it's not always right. And think about this. If someone were to perpetuate some fraud or scam about themselves, like say they're fake their education background, fake their business success, if they were to buy, I'm going to tell you how to do it, right? But if they have it online in several places and AI scrapes, they're going to scrape it as if that's fact. So you really do have to do your research and vet things and really, really be super careful. AI it's exciting, it's helpful, and it's dangerous.
Well, God gives you a brain to use. He doesn't want you to get lazy and use this technology to think for you. That's not what it's meant to do. It's meant to be a help. Sometimes we use it too much as a crutch, though, because it is easy. It's like, I'll just throw it in that and let it do it for me. But that weakens your mind. your mind is your greatest strength. Don't let that be taken by a computer or AI.
Yeah, and your heart.
And
AI,
your heart, yeah.
I've said this before, AI has no soul. It also doesn't have a heart. Now, it'll be polite. You'll say, thank you very much. You'll say, oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to help you. But it's an AI. It's a programming. It's not real, and it can't feel. It's a machine. I know they're going to keep trying to make it seem more and more real, and they'll probably get better at it over time. So, okay, another great thing that happened this week, right? I'm going to say it again. We're God, freedom, and Bitcoin. Listen to what I saw. Todd, we were driving here. While we were driving, I was looking on X for the latest stuff, and I saw there is an orange Bible app. This Bible app and was put on X, and they were talking about it. You earn Bitcoin reading the Bible.
Oh, well, you get rewarded for doing the right thing and reading the Bible. That's amazing.
Like, how crazy is that? So all of our Bible readers out there, which I hope it's every one of you, because life is so much better when you stop and you read the Word and you pause, and it's so good. And like, we could earn Satoshis reading the Bible. I mean, I don't do it. We shouldn't be doing it to be bribed, but if you're going to do it anyway, why not? Why not do it on the Orange Bible app?
Might as well make some sats while reading the good word, right?
Yeah, I need to see. Yeah. I should see if there's some affiliate link. I'm just throwing it out there, but we don't care. This is because we just love what we do. We love telling people about Bitcoin. There are so many misconceptions. And even this week I posted, so we had a fabulous interview last week with Mayor Lisa Anderson of Fairview, Tennessee.
We had 2 with her total, and that was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, that was our second one. And our first one was our actually most listened to podcast in the season 1 was Mayor Anderson's first podcast. I bet the second one is going to run right there with it. And it's just, but when I posted it on several of the Fairview sites so they could see and hear from their mayor, immediately someone's like, that's just a scam. I'm like, what's the scam? We're here. We're not even making money. We're doing this for fun.
Yeah.
And so there's no scam if you're not collecting money from it. What's the scam?
I know what. What is the scam when you're not even making a single cent off this? We're doing this to educate people, and that's what we've always done it for, is to educate people. So we're not making any money off this. It is for fun, and we do enjoy interacting with people and everything. So it's totally up to you what you decide you want to believe. But everybody has the right to decide. Hey, it's a scam. That's fine. I'm not here to tell you how to think, and no one should be able to do that.
No, and anyone in the Bitcoin space has done hundreds, thousands of hours of research. I mean, because once you start looking at money and the truth about money and our monetary system, there's a lot you really need to learn to understand it. I didn't learn any of this in school, but you can't just look at it for 4 or 5 hours and understand all of it. And most people that think it's a scam and are afraid of it haven't put the time in. They have not. So if you're sitting here going, it's a scam, I hear you on the radio, I'm driving home, I'm passing the mall right now, I don't know what, Janet and Todd, y'all are talking about, I don't believe you. Well, how much have you looked into Bitcoin and how much have you studied and listened? If you're new to all of this, go ahead and get the book, The Bitcoin Standard by Safadina Moose. Get the Gold Standard. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island by J. Edward Griffin.
Start there,
because that shows you the cabal, the criminal organization behind the Fed. How on earth is it still existing? But we have a new chairman of the Fed, right?
Yes.
That loves Bitcoin.
Kevin Warsh.
How is that going to go? I mean, that's going to be, you've got this whole fake, the Fed that's not federal, not reserve, but
they have no reserves.
A Bitcoiner now behind us. What is that going to look like? I have no idea.
Well, I hope it looks good for everybody. That's exactly what we want. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting future with President Trump and everything. So, as far as that goes, we've really had a great time educating people and trying to help them to understand. And like I said, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi by any means because I like gold, silver, and I'm going to say it again. We could go back to actual U.S. dollar and back it with gold and silver and also Bitcoin and also, oil, petroleum and stuff. So there's, you back your monetary system with commodities. And I'm going to continue to say that till I'm blue in the face because I do believe we need the more the merrier. You don't need a singular one thing worldwide. It needs to be multiples. So that's what I've always thought, and I'm going to stick to that. And I'm going to probably catch some grief from some people for that statement, but I believe that freedom means freedom of currency as well.
Yeah. And for the person who's overwhelmed, tired, driving home, and this kind of just flies over your head, but you're still listening because you're curious, we're going to talk about on this show what what CHAT GPT is predicting in the future for Bitcoin. That's interesting to see what the AI models predict. But you think about where you are in life, because we have different classes. We have, as they call it, the lower class, the middle class, the elite, or the upper class. Well, there was a statement, and I saw on X that I read on the way here. Like, I was looking at these, like, what are some last minute things?
I'm a chauffeur too, guys, just so you know.
Yeah, Todd drives us. Thrilla the Gorilla. It's Thrilla369 on X. Shout out to you. Wrote this. The middle class is the most expensive place to live, and no one talks about it. Lower income households get assistance. Yes. The wealthy use tax strategies and loopholes. Some of them don't pay any tax.
Yep.
The middle class pays full taxes, full tuition, full health care, full everything. So you work 50 hours a week just to stay in the same place and fund everyone's life except yours. That's why we are here, because we're tired. Because Todd and I, we pay, we're in that middle class area and we're exhausted. And Bitcoin, in our opinion, is an answer to losing value with your money, because you're working and whether it's an hourly wage or salary or whatever, your take home is small at the end of the day. And you want to go, how can I make my savings grow? And if you leave it in the bank, it's going to lose value. And it's lost like 93% of value buying purchase since the Fed was formed. And so where Bitcoin is the number one appreciating asset in all of history. And we have a 17-year history with Bitcoin. So while people say it's new, guys, 17 years, like one more year, Bitcoin could vote, right?
Absolutely. And that's really why we Bitcoin. We Bitcoin because, the middle class is the heart and soul of this country. They are what keeps it churning out. They are the ones that have the families that try to be active in their communities and everything else. So I'm not saying that everyone does matter in the end, but the middle class is the ones that really make this engine go here in the States, and will continue to do so because of the responsibility we have for not only our communities, but for our families, our friends, and everything else. So, I mean, as far as that goes, we're driving this economy, but we have to help one another, and that includes everybody coming together. I don't care what class you're in, everybody's important. So with that being said, guys, stay tuned for our next segment of God, Freedom, and Bitcoin right after this. And we are back. God, Freedom, and Bitcoin, Saturday night, Music City. And yes, we did see the pedal taverns once again, and they are cranking them up in between rainstorms. So
they were lined up.
Oh, they were lined up to drink after rain all day. So, yeah.
Is it going to rain on them tonight? I mean, it poured on us today.
Well, if they're pedaling down Broadway and they're drinking, I'm sure it's not going to matter to them.
Hey, they're not going to care. Those graduates in Franklin and Centennial that got their degrees in the rain, honestly, they look like they had so much fun. I know there was a lot of outcry about that, but my sister's graduation got rained out. We were all out there. This was Hendersonville High School way back when, and I remember like running. We all had to leave. They put everybody in the gym. Big storm blew up. It's crazy, but those are stories and memories. But yeah, they may get wet on those pedal taverns tonight here in Nashville.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to care. I wouldn't if I was probably half blitzed.
I have to say, Nashville real estate. So I'm a realtor, and if you go to our website, you'll see that. And I've been in the residential real estate business for 18 years. And this week has felt like 2021. So like the last year and a half, really 2 years have been pretty slow. Listings have been moving slow. It's been a buyer's market because people who bought their homes at like a 2.25%, 3.25% interest rate, if they sold their home and bought something twice, that's half as much, well, the interest rates have doubled. They're going to pay the same or more, so they're not moving. And so everything's been kind of frozen. But this week, it has gone crazy. And so Todd and I, like today, we're here live on the show, and I literally bound a contract right before he started the show that we've been working on today. And this condo has been on the market for quite a while. So congratulations to my buyers and sellers. And it's been that kind of day. I've got waiting on another one. So I'm really grateful to see that, because when real estate loosens up, everything loosens up. And that's really important for people for economic prosperity, because I think 50 people get paid every time there's a closing. So all of that's super important.
Oh, it totally is. And that's the thing about it. If you need a good realtor, Janet is your woman. You can go to our website, God, Freedom, and Bitcoin. And if you want to sell or purchase or whatever, call her, because she is very good at what she does. And I can attest, me driving around the city, we have gone from here to yonder looking for places for people or, selling. So
yeah,
totally.
Todd's my chauffeur. He's my bodyguard. He's if it's signs in the ground, I've got funny pictures of him trying to put these signs in the ground. And but it's a lot of fun, and it's taking care of people and helping them live their dreams. And that's where Bitcoin comes in. We're going to see more and more homes purchased with Bitcoin. So follow us, and even my website, janetgatewood.com, because as we are able to do more home purchases with Bitcoin as lenders, as all of that opens up, I'm going to have more information there. So if you're a Bitcoiner and you want to buy in Tennessee, I'm licensed in Tennessee, I can help you figure that out, and excited to do that. So talking about Bitcoin, right now, Bitcoin's around, it's hovering around $74,000, $75,000. So it went down a little bit this week, and that's part of Bitcoin, and we understand that. And everyone needs to. It's 73,893 right now. So on the market cap, Bitcoin dropped down to 13. So last week on the air, Bitcoin was number 11 at top assets worldwide by market cap. So this week, Bitcoin's 13. So who beat out Bitcoin this week? Meta and Tesla are both ahead of Bitcoin. But guys, Bitcoin, I say it because it's so important. Bitcoin has a larger market cap than Walmart, than Visa, MasterCard, Exxon, Johnson & Johnson, Costco, Bank of America, Chevron, Netflix, Coca-Cola, General Electric. I mean,
that's some big companies you're talking about.
It's here to stay, and it's huge. And so it's really exciting to see that, and it's still early. So you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin if you're interested, and you can buy it right now on Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, get the Fold card. We have it linked to our website. And you can buy $5 worth, $10 worth. Just when you think about saving, when I think when you buy it, this is what I would do. I think you just save it. You never spend it, and you hold it because it has grown so much that it's surpassed everyone's track record for appreciating assets. It's incredible.
Well, it really is. And kind of to piggyback off that, our old buddy Jamie Dimon, head of J.P. Morgan Chase. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this guy, he knows no bounds when it comes to harping on Bitcoin. And it's funny, he says he's attacking Brian Armstrong of Coinbase, which I'm not a huge fan of necessarily, but he's on the right track with this. And he was talking about, Brian Armstrong's going to do everything he can to help Senator Lummis and Senator Haggerty and all the people on the committees to get this Clarity Act and stuff passed. Jamie Dimon says he, as the grand wizard of the banks, is going to make sure that he doesn't allow it to happen. To me, what are you afraid of, Jamie? Are you afraid of freedom? Are you afraid of people making choices for themselves? That monopoly that you've been running for decades, is that what you're afraid of, that's going to get busted up? Which, whatever happened to the monopolies being busted up, that doesn't seem to happen anymore because banks are running a huge monopoly right now. But they're afraid of Bitcoin. But I guarantee you they're dealing in it. You know it, and I know it. We've said it many times.
I think they all lie. I mean, come on, antitrust. Alphabet owns everything. How are they still able to be in business? Amazon, they all they've got it all.
They've been running monopolies for decades and stuff, and even the robber barons and stuff were running monopolies back in the day. And of course, the government was turning their heads to it because they didn't want. It's like, I'm not going to bust that up because they're getting paid off. See, this is the dirty little secret. Our politicians are being paid off by these big conglomerates to turn their eyes away from what they're doing.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah. So, they don't want the little guy to get ahead because they step on the little guy. They build on the little guy. They take the little guy's money, and they control all of that. So here's some interesting. So I decided today to go talk to CHAT GPT, my friend, my non-financial advisor, and say, CHAT GPT, what is the best portfolio for mutual funds or stocks for the best returns? So I asked this, I didn't ask it about Bitcoin. Now, this Chat GPT knows I love Bitcoin, right? It knows I ask and we teach about it. It knows all about the show, so it knows that about us. What it said it did the simple growth portfolio, and it said 70% S&P 500, 20% in NASDAQ 100, but 10% in Bitcoin, in parentheses, if you believe in it long term. So I thought that was very interesting. Option 2 was a Warren Buffett style, 90% S&P, 10% short-term treasury. There's no Bitcoin in that. ChatGPT said an aggressive growth portfolio, 50% S&P, 25% NASDAQ, 15% small cap, 10% Bitcoin. And so I was just really curious about it. And so ChatGPT has favorite stocks it likes. NVIDIA, of course, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta. But I'm like, there's some others I would put in there.
The Magnificent Seven, it sounds like.
And then it said for someone like you, I guess like me, Janet, based on your interest in Bitcoin, it said 60% S&P 500. I thought, it doesn't know me very well.
No, it doesn't.
20% NASDAQ, 15% Bitcoin, and 5% cash. And so I had to return everything and compare it. But it's very interesting. It had this whole retirement portfolio. And I went back and I said, it's interesting that with a 10-year outlook, you wouldn't recommend more exposure to Bitcoin since it has a better annual growth return record than all the others, because this is what we talk about. And I'm like, why is CHAT GPT not talking about it? And it said it's a reasonable question that many Bitcoin investors would make the same argument. But CHAT GPT, and I say this because it's scraping all the data, right? To getting what the world says.
Yeah.
It said it wouldn't automatically recommend a higher Bitcoin allocation because Bitcoin has a lower return potential. It's because historically, listen to this, historically, Bitcoin has been the best performing major asset in the world over the past 10 to 15 years. But the reason it would not recommend it is because it says past returns don't tell us future volatility or future adoption rates. Well, that's true, but you could say that about anything.
Well, you could say that about any stock on the S&P and stuff.
The new ones. Think about that.
Absolutely. It's all volatile. I mean, we could beat that to her blue in the face.
Okay. So here are some of its arguments. Bitcoin has experienced multiple drawdowns of 70 to 90%. Well, yeah, but when it flips back, it's amazing. The S&P 500 has historically experienced drawdowns closer to 30, 50%. Most people think they can hold through an 80% decline until they actually live through one. So when you go through the down market, the bear market, that's hard on people. And sometimes they do have to sell assets to make it because they're over leveraged.
Yes.
Something falls away, whatever it is. So CHAT GPT is trying to do this portfolio construction about surviving that journey, not just maximizing it.
Yeah, and you realize too that with CHAT GPT and all this, it's going to put money managers and stuff out of business eventually. That's on the way. And that's the thing I tell people with AI and everything. The dangerous part about AI is it's going to take a lot of jobs. And it could be yours, it could be mine, it could be anybody's job eventually. And so you need to learn this stuff as quickly as you possibly can to make yourself valuable. Because if not, we're all going to be in trouble.
Absolutely.
Not to be Debbie Downer, but that's the truth.
Well, you've got to figure out how to make it work for you. So here we are. It saved me time today because Todd and I were showing houses. We were writing offers. We were dropping
running across
signs.
Town all over the place.
I'm like, we've got our last radio show. And so ChatGPT said the Bitcoin investor's view is this, that Bitcoin is scarce with the 21 million supply cap. Exactly. It's globally accessible. Yes, it is. It's increasingly viewed as a digital store of value. Yes, it is. Institutions, corporations, ETFs, and some governments have begun adopting it. I would say a lot of governments.
Yes.
It has outperformed every major asset class over long periods. Yes. So ChatGPT says from that perspective, a 15% allocation might seem conservative. So it's really interesting. So we went on down and I asked it some more questions. And it said the higher you go, the more your future wealth becomes tied to one thesis, that Bitcoin will continue to gain adoption and purchasing power relative to other assets. And if that thesis is correct, look at these portfolios. You either have a 90% S&P 500 and 10% in Bitcoin or 50-50. And so as I talked to it, ChatGPT decided I needed to be a 50-50. Because here's what I asked it. And I know that we're going to have a commercial break in this. So I'll go ahead and ask this question. Well, maybe I'll wait. Let's do that because it's too much to kind of think about. So what's interesting about our show right now is that we have, would you believe, only 45% of our listeners are here in Tennessee?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is truly amazing because I know you're going to tell me where most of our listeners come from, correct?
Well, our second biggest state is, of all things, California.
Welcome, California. Thanks for listening.
10% of our listeners are in California. 7% are in Florida.
Love it.
And then we have New York, and we have Georgia and Missouri. Like, we have some pretty strong listeners from these areas. It's been very interesting. And then worldwide, a lot of them from Ireland, We have a lot of, hello, Ireland.
Love the Irish.
If you're listening.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we have Bangladesh. We have Morocco.
I think you said Vietnam as well.
Vietnam. It's really interesting to think that people around the world are listening to Todd and Janet Gatewood from Nashville, Tennessee on God, Freedom, and Bitcoin.
Well, it's fun. It's people love freedom.
They love freedom and positivity, right? And we have fun. But it's really exciting to try to figure out how to help people maybe have some hope, some financial hope.
Oh, absolutely. Without that, if you don't have, God in your life and you don't have hope and financial hope, then you don't have anything. So, well, guys, with that being said, stay tuned for the second half of God, Freedom, and Bitcoin right after these messages. And we are back. God, Freedom, and Bitcoin, Saturday night. It is a wonderful day here in Nashville. A little bit flooding going on, though, so we've had off and on torrential downpours. Been a wild day, hasn't it, Jan? I think we've driven through rainstorms, sunshine, rainstorms, sunshine, off and on, all through the city.
Welcome to Nashville, Tennessee.
Welcome to Seattle, Washington.
We have schizophrenic weather.
We do.
I keep flip-flops, boots, everything in the car. You
Absolutely.
never know what the day is going to hold. I just want it to rain Bitcoin. That's what I want. Freedom and Bitcoin.
Rain them coins. Yeah.
So before the break, we were talking about my research with CHAT GPT. And I want to talk about that on this section right now because there's some interesting things. So when you talk about, we're not financial advisors, okay? So this is me, Janet, non-financial advisor, and CHAT GPT. When you talk about investors and their financial advisors with regards to Bitcoin, traditional financial advisors are going to say 1% to 5% allocate to Bitcoin of your portfolio. A progressive advisor is going to say 5 to 10% of your portfolio goes to Bitcoin. A Bitcoin-friendly investor advisor is going to say 10 to 25% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. A convicted Bitcoiner, 25 to 50% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. And a Bitcoin maximalist is going to say 50 to 100% in Bitcoin. The higher you go, the more your future wealth becomes tied to this thesis that Bitcoin is continuing to gain adoption or purchasing power relative to other assets. So it's interesting math. So I was talking to CHAT GPT, and there were two portfolio options. And so CHAT GPT felt like maybe for me a better one is 50% in the S&P and 50% in Bitcoin. So going on that, I started asking some questions because we've heard this before. Greg Foss talked about this. He's in commercial real estate, I think, or lending. Anyway, he's fascinating to listen to. And years ago, he told his clients, if you put just 5% in Bitcoin in your portfolio, over the years, the percentage of your portfolio that is Bitcoin will grow because Bitcoin is that number one appreciating asset, and it's going to take over your portfolio. So not telling ChatGPT this theory from Greg Foss, I thought, let me ask it. If I had $10,000 to invest, we're talking about today, and put half into the S&P 500 and half into Bitcoin over the next 10 years, if Bitcoin grows at 50% of the rate that it's actually grown, so let's say Bitcoin is going to be half as successful, right? And the S&P 500 stays at the same growth rate it has had in the past 10 years, what is the portfolio going to look like in 10 years? So here are it's $10,000, 50% into Bitcoin today, 50% to the S&P 500, based on half the rate of growth for Bitcoin and full rate for S&P 500. So here's what's going to happen. Todd?
Are you going to blow my mind? I can tell because the way you're laughing, you're about to blow my mind.
It's going to get even better. This is okay. This is fair blowing your mind. It's going to get so much better. So this first scenario, $5,000 in the S&P 500 today will become $15,000, 500 in 10 years.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's 3 times growth, right?
Yeah.
If you put $5,000 in Bitcoin today, based on half the growth rate that Bitcoin's enjoyed for 17 years, that $5,000 will become $46,000.
I don't know, guys. There might be something to this Bitcoin.
And guess what?
You might want to try it. Just a little bit, even a little bit. It might be worth trying.
So your portfolio will no longer be 50% in S&P and 50% in Bitcoin. 75% will become Bitcoin and 25% the S&P because Bitcoin's growing faster.
So what you're telling me is that bonds are basically going to go away for any use case.
I'm not telling you that.
No, I know. I know you're not because guess what? We are not financial advisors, but that tells me that the Bitcoin could be the new bonds actually as a protection, a hedge protector.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like,
So,
if I'm reading the tea leaves correct.
So let's be more conservative. Let's take $10,000 today, put half in the S&P 500 and half in Bitcoin. But let's have Bitcoin grow at a fourth of what it's grown. At a fourth of what it's grown. Let's not cut it in half. Let's go 25% of what Bitcoin has done. But let's keep S&P at what they've done full force, right? And grow it for 10 years. So the 5,000 S&P again becomes 15,000, and the 5,000 in Bitcoin becomes 16. But at the end of the 10 years, it's more even. Bitcoin's at a 51%, 0.1 of the portfolio, and S&P 500 is 48.9. But I'm saying if Bitcoin only grows at a fourth of what it's grown in the next 10 years, it's still going to do better than the S&P 500 by 2%.
Well, I think it would be even more if people would stop manipulating it. And that's the thing. We've got market manipulators out there, people who are holding large amounts of Bitcoin that are literally pumping and dumping it to get people out of it and then taking it at a lower price. And that's you've got people that have billions upon billions of dollars that they're throwing in it and then taking it out real quick to manipulate it down so they can buy it at a cheaper price. And don't think this hasn't happened. It's happened in our stock market for generations. I think a lot of it caused our stock market crash of 1929.
Yeah.
Because they were manipulating stocks. And the same thing with Bitcoin. It can happen, but it recovers a lot quicker than stocks do.
Yeah. Okay. So this is getting a bit better. Okay. So I asked CHAT GPT, I said, okay, what do you show as the growth of Bitcoin on the average for the past 10 years? Well, you applied that same level of growth to the next 10 years in those same scenarios, okay? So CHAT GPT figured out that Bitcoin has grown in the last 10 years 65 to 75% a year on average. So we're going to use 70% annually as the illustration. So we're going to put 5,000 in S&P 500 today and 5,000 in Bitcoin. We're going to grow them at the rates that both of these have grown. So you take what S&P has done for 10 years, let's advance it, and Bitcoin the same. You'll have a 12% return on the S&P 500 and a 70% return on Bitcoin. So what does that look like in the numbers? $5,000, again, becomes $15,529. $5,000 in Bitcoin today, grown at that rate that Bitcoin's grown in the last 10 years. $1 million.
Yes. So let me pose this question. Let me use some simple math
It's like
here.
a game show.
70 to 12%. You're talking 10-year period. Is the S&P really making you any money, or is it keeping you from making money? And when you look at those numbers, it's pretty obvious to me that I think I would want to at least dabble a little bit in some Bitcoin because the numbers don't lie.
Well, yeah, if you want to be safe and half in S&P 500 and be bold and half in Bitcoin, if Bitcoin grows at the rate it's grown, you'll have $15,000 in your safe fund in 10 years and $1 million in your non-safe fund. And again, that's based on that 70% growth rate.
And of course, not financial advice, guys, but it's worth taking a look at.
But if you take the history, we're applying the history, move it forward. So guess what Bitcoin becomes? It becomes 98.5% of your portfolio in 10 years. And S&P 500 becomes 1.5%. The theory works.
You could have a lot of fun with that kind of money being made. I mean, that's a true growth fund. Right. Guys, we're all dealing with inflation and everything. And I can tell you one thing. When I'm listening to numbers like that, you can outpace inflation if you have some Bitcoin, literally, because I know everybody's struggling with gas prices, which I think they are going to come down eventually. Their groceries, rent, or mortgage, just basic living is costing a lot more for people. You can see it in people's face that they're truly struggling out there. So if you had an opportunity to get an appreciating asset like Bitcoin in your portfolio and also self-custody, by all means, please learn about this stuff and self-custody it. Do not leave it on exchanges because that opens up the opportunity for them to take it from you. You have to really learn this stuff and self-custody your Bitcoin and not rely on people like Coinbase or any of these other exchanges to do the right thing and hold it for you, because it's also tough to get it off sometimes. They will hold it and make you wait several days. It's almost like dealing with a bank, except with, Bitcoin and crypto exchanges.
Yeah, they'll let you buy a lot, but you can't move it to your wallet. You have to do like 2,500, 500. They're all different. So I got some bigger questions. I said, okay, here's another question I had. If I could buy one Bitcoin today, what would it be worth based on these 3 scenarios in 10 years. So if you took a Bitcoin today, now this is where AI is not always correct. It ran it at the wrong number. It said, okay, Bitcoin today is 105,000. And I thought, CHAT GPT, can't you check all the charts? Bitcoin's 74,000 right now.
I know, it's insane, isn't it?
So I had to go, I'm like, hey, no, you got the wrong price. So
guys, stay tuned for our final segment of God, Freedom, and Bitcoin right after this. And we are back. God, Freedom, and Bitcoin. Guys, if you want to check us out, go to www.godfreedomandandbitcoin.io. Janet, take it away.
All right, it's our last segment of our last show of season 1, show 21. I'm going to give you a few more stats because this blew my mind. If you bought Bitcoin today, right now it's worth $74,000, $74,053. 74,053. This is the scenario I ran with CHAT GPT. Based on the historical growth, if we did this growth, 1 Bitcoin today, you would have in 10 years.
She's giddy.
In 10 years, 74,000 becomes $14.9 million. But I'm saying this again. $74,054 and $53 becomes $14.9 million if it grows at the same rate it's grown for the past 10 years.
That being said, don't over leverage yourself. But man, if you could get even a little bit of that, that would be worth it for you.
Yeah. So let's be more conservative. If you bought a Bitcoin today, let's just round it off, $74,000. If it grew at half the historical rate that it's grown the past 10 years, you'd have $1.49 million. Call it 1.5. Your $74,000 will become 1.5 in 10 years if it grows at half the rate it's grown at. People go, well, it's just not going to grow as fast. That's why I wanted to look at this. Let's be more conservative. If you bought a $74,000 full Bitcoin today and it grew at 25% of what it's grown for 10 years. So let's say Bitcoin just slows down and we're just growing at 25% of that rate. In 10 years, you'll have $372,000. I mean, those numbers
That's
are
exponential growth. That's huge.
Exponential growth. So we say all that to say, I try to run numbers conservatively. And the thing is, the conservative numbers still beat everything else. So, we would say research it, understand what it is before you buy it. But having some exposure to Bitcoin historically has proved to be very, very lucrative.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing, guys. Immerse yourself in this. Learn it. Don't spend every waking hour doing it, but learn it and get with people who can help educate you and help you be able to self-custody in a safe manner and get you involved in the space. And, like I've said many a times, you can buy as little as $10 a week, month, year, whatever you choose. But try to get into it and learn a little bit and make sure that you don't bet the farm on it, but at least get you a nice chicken.
Chicken. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm going to take this back. If you put 74,000 into the S&P 500, like we just did Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. If it grew at a 10% annual growth rate, that 74,000 would become $192,000 in 10 years.
And that's a great rate of return.
But it's half of what we just talked about.
Yes.
At 12%, S&P 500 in 10 years at a 12% growth rate, if you put $74,000 into that, you'd have $230,000 at a 12% growth rate. If you had a 15% growth rate on that, you'll have $300,000. None of those match the numbers for Bitcoin.
Not even close.
Because if Bitcoin grew the next 10 years at a quarter of what it's grown, you're going to end up with what I say, $372,000. That blows away these top estimates for the S&P 500. So all that to say is, guys, take a look at this. Take a look at this. And it's really exciting because the middle class is tired. We're tired. We're tired of paying for everything. We're tired of
running
paying
24/7. Yeah.
If there's a way that we can get a little of something that would really outpace inflation and help us retire, because that's why we looked at it. We thought, at some point we want to retire and stop working 24/7. How do you do that when inflation's running rampant and the economy's crazy and gas keeps going up and eggs keep going up? You get some Bitcoin.
Absolutely. And that's what she said. I agree with 110% plus because it does make a huge difference as far as your future and also for your family's future. This is generational wealth you could be possibly building for your children and their children's children because right now what we're doing, we're on the inevitable hamster wheel of chasing our tails and getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's a system that's been set up literally to make sure that's what you're running on, where you never get ahead. You're always slave to the lender. We're slaves to the lender. That's why Janet and I are in this space and have been in this space, is because we're here to educate and help people understand there is a better way than doing what these people want us to do.
Absolutely.
We might be a little rebels.
Absolutely.
To say the least. Yeah.
So we want to just thank all of our guests for the past season.
Yeah.
Our number one show was with Mayor Lisa Anderson, her first show in March, and we had her again last week. So we want to thank Mayor Anderson for joining us from Fairview, Tennessee. We also want to thank Chris Brinkley, Todd's best friend since he was 13.
Whom I'm going to see next week, and I look forward to that. That's always fun. Yeah.
So we want to thank Chris for joining us. That was such a great show. It's in our top 4 shows. And we want to thank Justin Duchin, who is head of events for Bitcoin 2026, all the Bitcoin events. And he's here local in Nashville with Bitcoin Magazine. He was so wonderful to come on and come in the studio. That was so much fun. And Justin, you just did a great event at the Bitcoin conference. And we want to thank Dennis Porter, who is the CEO of the Satoshi Action Fund. That's linked on our website. And that is a fund they support legislation to advance Bitcoin and protect Bitcoin, because we want to protect the freedom of the space. We also want to thank Steve Blanco, our crypto expert. We love Steve, and he has been on many shows with us when he was here in Nashville. There are a lot of our good educational shows. What is Bitcoin? Which wallets? How to avoid a scam? Listen to us on Apple Podcast, and we have all of those there. And that's going to be a lot of fun to have those. We talked about data centers, and we talked about Bitcoin mining, and so many great things.
Yeah, and speaking of data centers, we really need to make sure that we don't get out of whack with that stuff, because it does drain a lot of your resources, especially water and everything, and you're starting to see problems with that. And I don't mind technology. I don't even mind advancing our civilization, but when it taxes all your resources, your water, your land, and everything else, we really need to think twice about some of that stuff and maybe slow some of that growth as far as that goes down until we can figure out a better way to protect our natural resources.
Yeah. And that's where you need to get involved in your local community, because that's where it's going to happen. The permitting, all of the land variations, all the zones and planning, pay attention. So if you don't want those loud data centers coming off your back deck from a mile away, you need to pay attention to what's going on in your community and stop sitting back and doing what we do sometimes, watching Netflix or all of those things that can kind of put you in a daze, and wake up, because we really do have to protect our land and our families.
We really do, and that's the thing. It's up to us. And of course, God, you have to really rely on Him most, because like we've said many times, we're all fallible. We're human beings. We're not going to necessarily always do the right things, even though we try. But you've got to hold people accountable, especially people in leadership. And sometimes we're not willing to step up when we have to and serve when we need to make sure that our local communities and parishes and stuff are taken care of. So you really have to think about that. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, it's just been so great being here on the radio and getting to talk about this and talking about how to be a part of that solution, because we have to do that in our community. And I just really appreciate all of the staff here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to shout out to Heather, our sales rep. She's just been the best. Special. RJ Mason here tonight helping us in the studio. The Daves.
I know, the Daves.
Daves.
Mean, the staff here at Cumulus here in Nashville are amazing. These guys have allowed us to put this show on, and we're very grateful for that. And thank you for allowing us to spend last 5 or 6 months with you guys and enjoy it. And who knows, in the future we may be back. We definitely have a podcast that we're going to do. We're probably going to take a little bit of break and probably in the fall come back with our podcast and stuff, and then from there we'll see where we're at, and we may reach back out to these guys and get on the radio again. It is kind of fun, but you need a break because you are the producer of the show. Janet, I'm just a voice. She does all the background work and the hard work, and for that I'm eternally grateful, because you make me sound good with all the information and everything, and you shoot me the questions I need to talk and run my mouth.
You have that great radio voice. I mean, come on.
I can thank Chris Brinkley, because he's the one that got me involved in radio. So, yeah, it's been I've enjoyed it. It's been 30 years since I'd been on radio. So, but this has been a fun experience for sure.
That's how we're going to catch you on a Paddle Tavern now that you're not going to be at Cumulus here at the radio on Saturday nights.
See, that was a small town radio, so I never got into the big big markets like this. So this was fun. This is definitely different from Martin, Tennessee. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Nashville's a great market. It's
It is
so
a great
much fun.
market.
The city's so much fun. We have so many, 14 colleges and universities. I mean, it's just the best area. Born and raised here. Todd's a lifelong Tennessean, and we love our city. So Nashville and Music City, thank you for having us for the past 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We have really and truly enjoyed this. And without you listening, and to all the people around the world who have been listening to us, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday nights and stuff to listen to us and, on our podcast and everything. It means the world to us. So, guys, with that being said, thank you for joining us tonight for another show with God, Freedom, and Bitcoin on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good night. God bless and stay free. Guys, we will see you down the road.
Good night, Music City.